have to be honest, yesterday was botched. The whole quote-unquote release, big news, major things dropping. Boy, I felt like we took it hook, line, and sinker. Now today, we've heard, and by the time you're watching this video, it may be released, but Pam Bondi better get it together or she might as well resign, because she is getting raked over the coals because of this botched situation yesterday with these files. We're going to discuss something that she did. I mean, she's like, you've got to give me these files. How is she not? I mean, she is literally the top chief of police, basically, for the United States. Cash, the top police, the top cop. And they can't get their insubordinates to give their information to them? It's kind of stupid, isn't it? It was botched yesterday. We're going to discuss that. Also, we're going to talk about the drug companies. You know, not that I'm for prescriptions, but there was one company that came in and said we're fixing to invest billions into American manufacturing because of the tariffs. So we were wanting to see American manufacturing come home. We were wanting to see pharmaceutical getting made in America. Trump's plan is actually starting to do that. Even though the media and people are dogging out the chaos with the tariffs, actually it's becoming more popular. We'll discuss that. Also, another story that's very important to me, and it took me, I'm 36 years old, and something I'm going to tell you in just a matter of a few minutes, that all this other stuff really doesn't matter. What matters is your faith, your family, and your freedom. Let's talk about something that just came out that's encouraging when it comes to our faith. And let's talk about something else that's dangerous to our family, so therefore we need to do more to be proactive against it. We're going to end the video with a special message from me. Let's dive in. Hey guys, welcome to The Max. Thank you so very much for being here today. If you are new, please go down here, press subscribe. Listen, I've been held down pretty good this last week because we're talking truth and we're talking wisdom. So please make sure you are subscribed and make sure you have the bell notification on. Also remember, this is the last day of the month. And you know, we always do a giveaway each and every month. We're actually doing giveaways, 3 giveaways on all 3 channels to our subscribers and people who comment and give us a thumbs up. So please make sure that you are doing those things so that way you can be entered. Let's jump into the stories of the day. First, let's talk about what everybody's talking about, the Epstein situation. Now, if you remember 2 days ago, you had Alina Habba, you had Pam Bondi, you had all these podcasters, you had Kash Patel writing letters. It's amazing how we believe that in the conservative movement that we write a really contested, hard letter that things are going to get done. It's funny to me. But you heard all this fluff about the release is coming tomorrow, which was yesterday. Within 24 hours, people are going to go crazy over this bombshell. They built it up, to then not really be much of nothing. It was a joke. It was really just a big psyop. Now, as a Christian conservative and as someone who is a Trump supporter, who wants to see his cabinet thrive, it's not the biggest Pam Bondi fan, you know that, but I'm a huge Cash fan. I think they were so proud of this moment that they built it up. Then to realize that actually people are going to read it and want information and get things out of it, to realize there's nothing there. Now, stuff that we already pretty much knew. We wanted to see the logs. Now, here all of a sudden, then they start throwing blame at the FBI department in New York. Now remember, this is Cash and Pam. Okay, Pam is literally the Attorney General. That means she is the chief police, basically, of the FBI. She is over all law enforcement all over America. Now, there shouldn't be writing a highly, mad letter to anybody. You flip and go get the stuff and make sure that your people get it and confiscate it and bring it back. Cash, the second most highest person in the land when it comes to law enforcement, the top cop. Both of them write harsh letters to New York to say you got to release this information. Now remember, J6 happens and we literally have FBI busting down doors of grandmas and holding people at gunpoint. Literally, there is stories where people were trying to take their kids to school and they're getting thrown in the back of the FBI van. Now let's go back to 2019. FBI agents raided Epstein's townhouse in New York City. Found safes, computers, hard drives, CDs, all this stuff. They took pictures of everything. Since then, no arrest. Nothing's been done of it. Nothing's happened. Now the man's quote unquote gone, and we still have no knowledge of it. It's unbelievable to me. So when I hear Pam Bondi, I like what Clint Russell said. He said this on Twitter. He said, the FBI raided grandma's houses, like I just said, but Pam Bondi needed to give to 8 o'clock this morning to turn over all the information on something that's been happening for decades, dealing with one person. Do we not find that a little disturbing, a little bizarre? And it makes me think, it's probably because he was an intelligence officer. It probably was because there's a lot of insiders on that list. And it's probably because they're going to do all they can to stop this movement, because they know the chaos that may ensue. And they know that they may have to actually start arresting people. It was a botched deal. If Pam can't fix it today, if she does not actually come out and do the release, quit trying to blame the flippin' FBI. You are over the FBI. Come on. If she does not do the release today, she needs to sign a resignation. Now, we all kind of knew that she was kind of the weak link on the cabinet picks. We all kind of knew that. I mean, we liked Matt Gaetz, and then, of course, his issues. And then everybody was like, why Pam Bondi? We were thinking Stephen Miller. We were thinking some other, major Trump confidant. And it didn't work. And now we may be seeing the ramifications of kind of like another Bill Barr. Someone that's just like, what? I mean, this person's not representing Americans. Now, she comes out today and she's like, I'm writing a letter. What does that mean? I get so tired of hearing conservatives and Republicans saying they're going to write a very staunch letter. They're going to demand. Why demand? You're the boss. Go boss. And get the information. You should have sent agents down there, seized the information. There shouldn't be any letters. You should go raid your own offices, don't you think? Government's half working in offices now anyway, and not half working in offices. They're working from home. Why don't you just go get the stuff? But no, they gave them more time to figure out some excuse by 8 o'clock this morning. Cash, same way. Now, there's a new report. Cash came out and said that he wants his FBI agents to train with UFC fighters so they could be more prepared. I think that's awesome. I love what Cash is doing with some of the other things that he's already said. But remember, Cash and Bondi, they did this to themselves. They are the ones that said they would release day one. They are the ones that promoted this for months and months and months on end, that if they were in the administration, they would release. All of a sudden, they're not. It's kind of like, Mike Johnson, before he was speaker, he was like, I would never do surveillance on Americans. I would never do this. I would never do this. I would never raise the budget. I would never raise the deficit. I would always make sure I'm doing what I'm supposed to do if I was in that leadership spot. He gets put in that leadership spot, and boy, does that guy tuck tail and run. It seems like if we want good leaders, they should already been leading. And then they get to that point. I don't want talkers. I want walkers. Staunch conservative who should represent being speakership and actually represent the party. Someone like Thomas Massey. I say that all the time, but it's kind of true. You know what he's pushing this week? He said, here we are. We have 18-year-olds who can vote. We have 18-year-olds who can get married. We have 18-year-olds who can literally strap a firearm on their back and go to war. But in our own country that has the right to bear arms, they can't even buy a firearm until they're 21. He says, does that make sense to you? See, that shows that he wants the regulatory body taken away. He wants the Fed taken away. That's real change. And he's being a leader by not being a leader. He's not even a leader, and he's making these comments and doing these things. Whereas all these other people, they just talk and actually end up kowtowing to everyone else. Now, back to Pam Bondi and Cash. If Cash doesn't hold up to his end of the bargain, his legacy of being such a phenomenal Trump supporter and such a populist and such a firebrand that everybody was proud of, he might as well resign too. Now, I'm saying that as a Cash supporter. I like the guy. But yesterday was botched. I'm just telling you, I think that they made huge mistakes. And all these influencers, again, as a conservative Christian, complete happy with the fact that we have podcasters and YouTubers and, independent journalists being part of the talking points and actually now guiding the media. They look like fools yesterday. You know, I like DC Drano, I like Libs of TikTok, I like all those people. But they look like fools yesterday. I mean, they really did. I'm sorry. Holding up the books, I mean, like a photo op. This should be something released from a podium from AG's office with FBI and saying, promises made, promises kept. We're releasing it all right now. Here it is. We're laying it out. They tried to hold it from us. They tried to confiscate it. They tried to burn it down. And here we are. We're laying it out. We don't need phases. We don't need this. We're not kindergartners, people. Release the documents. But no, we can go raid J6 grandmas and arrest people praying at clinics. But the Republicans and conservatives can't release a few documents. Now let's talk about the tariffs. Trump comes out and says, of course, yes, we are going to do the tariffs on EU. And I think it's great because now they're having to buy the natural gas from us versus Russia. Another thing, and again, you can dog the tariffs out and the leverage that the tariffs gives Trump. But listen to this. Eli Lilly announces plan to invest $27 billion in America amid Trump tariff threats. Now, Eli Lilly is one of those big pharmaceutical companies that, you know, again, as someone who doesn't like pharmacy and pharmaceuticals, and I believe that we are completely over-medicated, what we've been talking about and wanting for so long is to actually have prescriptions and medicine made in America. Why are we still buying medicines from Asia and India and other places across the world? To me, that makes us dependent not only on the medicine, but dependent on other countries to provide it for us. It puts us in a very vulnerable situation. Well, Trump's tariffs just opened the door for one of these big pharma companies, even though I may not be the biggest proponent of it, to come back. A lot of people depend on pharmacies and medicines, and I love to see that now we see one of these companies coming back home. That is what the tariffs and leverage was all about. That's what we wanted. Listen to this. It says Eli Lilly announced Wednesday that it has plans to double its U.S. manufacturing investment this year to $50 billion as President Trump threatens the tariffs on pharmaceutical imports. Now, everybody gripes on the left, well, it's going to make your money, it's going to make your medicine go up. Well, if we would make it here, then they wouldn't have the extra tariffs, right? And if people weren't so greedy, then we could just match pricing and just say, okay, whatever we were buying it from Asia, we could make it here and buy it here. And therefore, American manufacturing is winning, American independence is winning, and people are still getting their needs met, their medicines met from American companies. I mean, it's a win-win. Drug giant plans to begin building 4 domestic manufacturing locations in 2025, adding 13,000 high-wave manufacturing and construction jobs. So not only are they providing the medicine here, they're providing 13,000 regular blue-collar work, manufacturing jobs right there. That's what tariff leverage is. Now, is Trump going to do the tariffs for everybody? Probably not. He'll have some tariffs for some people that's being staunch and hard-nosed about it. But truthfully, all it is negotiating ploys. Toyota was one of those. Look, Mississippi got tons of automotive dealers all because of tariffs last time. I mean, so, you know, again, jobs come here because of leverage and because they want to do business in America. And if nobody's holding their feet to the fire, then they're going to do it somewhere economically cheaper, like Mexico or Asia or wherever it may be. But if you hold their feet to the fire and say, if you want to do business in America, you actually have to be American-based business and manufacturing. Bam, you see that the AI chips come here. You see the car manufacturers come here. You see the fact now that pharmaceuticals are coming here. You see the fact that Nippon Steel just made a $1 trillion deal with Japan. That's what we wanted. Now that is promises made, promises kept. Unlike the first story, this one's actually coming true. I think that's why you hadn't heard Trump really say much about the release yesterday, because he knows it was botched. I imagine he had some very hard conversations with some people, because one thing I've realized, and here's what we should learn. You can only surround your people with people like you. And if you try to bring in people like he did in the first administration, Trump 1.0, it didn't work. He's got to be careful here. He has to make sure he surrounds himself with people just like him, the Stephen Millers. I mean, honestly, the Kash Patels. But if we see the fact that he's not getting people proven to him to actually be an asset, they're a liability, and he needs to fire them, truthfully. Now, let's go back to the story with Eli Lilly, and then we're going to wrap it up with a special message that I think is really good for us. It says, since 2020, Eli Lilly has invested $23 billion globally, including buildings expanding in several places. Some are in America, but some were not. But this will bring back all their emphasis in trying to build American manufacturing back. That's pretty huge. They said there's going to be plants going in North Carolina, Wisconsin, and several other cities. And what's so funny is both in Democrat and Republican states, Wisconsin. So it shows that we're going to benefit all Americans by having this here, and then we're going to benefit by what they're making also. So the manufacturing and what it actually benefits us can bring it back home, and that's encouraging to me. Now let's go to the last story of the day, and this is something that's important to me, and this is something that's taken a long time for me to understand, because I wouldn't say me to understand, but for most Americans, we try to find happiness and peace in people. I mean, everybody was excited about Trump. Everybody was excited about, DeSantis. Everybody was excited about, this congressman that's going to do good for you. And they're always let down in some form or fashion because they're humans. They're men. They're going to make mistakes. But one thing I thought was encouraging, there was a new report. Actually, it was covered by 2 different media sources. It says there was a poll done by the Pew Research. It says the decline in Christianity in the U.S. is now slowing and possibly leveling off, and in some cases, starting to grow back. It says Christianity's years of long decline is now making a recovery. Now, for the longest, you've heard the fact that people are moving away from churches. People are getting away from faith. People are not religious anymore. People don't care about having kids anymore. Well, there's a new report that says that may not be true. This came from Leading Report. It says after many years of steadily declining, the percentage of Americans who identify as Christians is starting to stabilize and actually starting to rise again, especially with young men. Now, that is the most encouraging thing. When we realize that the leaders of our homes, the leaders of that God has placed should be young men growing up saying, look, we've seen how bad it can be. We see how bad the politics can be. We see that we can't just put our trust in every man because we know that all these men are going to fail us. What we've realized is all the things like, even these religions, all that's for naught. Really what it comes down to is if we're going to be Christians and we follow somebody, why don't we put our faith in Jesus? Because one thing that hadn't failed people is Jesus. And you're starting to see a reoccurrence from male age 18 to 25. Now that's encouraging to me because I have 6 children. One is almost 18 and the rest are coming up in this world. And I've said this too. I hate to see what the world my kids are going to grow up in. I've said that. I know you have too. You have said that about your kids and grandkids. But now what we're seeing is we may see a resurgence. Now, for the longest I've been talking about a reawakening, a revival. Well, there's still time. And what I hope and pray is that through all this, we see that, of course, Democrats have failed us. We see the Republicans and rhinos have failed us. We see that even the best of the best that we want to deestablish, to be the populist candidate, to be the most conservative, still will let us down. But ultimately, if we look to build our families, we look to have strong men back in homes, we look to see Christian men back in homes, to have values, then we actually may see resurgence, not from Washington, not from your state capital, but from your communities, your homes, your churches. It says that what people are realizing too now is kids with medicine in their system, kids with screen time, is starting to debilitate them. And so now people with younger children are starting to realize to get their kids back out, to ground them, to put them back into the outdoors, to teach them how to camp, how to do things, life skills. That's encouraging. Now, I said earlier, I'm 36. I'm in my 30s. I have 6 kids. 2 of them are in archery, most of them in musical instruments. We play outside, we spend time outside. They don't get screen time. They have to earn the screen time that they get, and it's only on 1 day a week. They have to do good in their school. Homeschooling is part of going outdoors too and being active. Now that doesn't mean I'm doing something amazing. It just means I'm trying to let my kids be raised in a way that they can get a little bit of everything and understand the values that made America great and made families great. And hopefully they see a leader in their father and in their mother, of course. So this actually encourages me that men will fail us. The world's not getting any better. But there is a glimmering hope because the younger generation, especially young men, are starting to become men again. And they're starting to become faith-driven men again. And they're starting to realize they don't want what the world could give them because it hadn't given them anything but stress and anxiety and problems. They're turning back to faith. And that is encouraging. Guys, let me know your thoughts on these stories. Again, I hope by the time you're watching this, I hope there was a major release and that I can just recant all the stuff I've said about Pam Bondi and Ganesh Patel tomorrow. But so far, they botched yesterday. And these conservative influencers botched yesterday. And the Trump administration, I hope they worked for the last 24 hours saying, we're going to fix this and we're going to actually keep the promises that we made on the release and declassification of some of these. Even though it's hard, because some of this stuff that's going to come out, it's going to rock the world. But it's needed for healing and peace. Again, more than anything, more than the pharmaceutical thing, more than even the release, I love hearing that young men are turning back to God. And that is probably the best story I could hear all year. Guys, thank you for watching. God bless.